We've arrived at the Civil Aviation Authority to go inside of the C-suite of Miss Poppy Khoza, one of the most powerful women in aviation, even around the world. We're going in now. You have come a long ways from KZN, and your journey is extremely inspiring, specifically because it was only in tertiary where you sort of found this love and sort of passion for aviation.
Yes, absolutely. I'll call myself a girl from a small town called Dundee in KwaZulu-Natal, and who literally knew nothing about aviation. But when I got introduced to aviation, it did hit me, you know.
Really?
It's like a bug. And if I may just take you back, you know, aviation is quite one of those careers or one of those opportunities that were not necessarily opened to black people as such. But getting to learn about it at tertiary, it's unfortunate that I only learned about it at tertiary, because when I got introduced to it, my first sense was, where was this career? Why didn't I know about it? So when I studied for travel and tourism, that's when I really got hooked to this profession, and I thought, wow, where was this? And I'm quite interested. So I was provoked.
The Civil Aviation Authority is a serious position, and you're shouldering it well. At what point did you realize that you could shoulder this level of weight?
So the responsibility that goes with just being a director of civil aviation is to ensure that we set standards that shall ensure that any flight that departs, it must land safely at the next destination. We regulate the entire industry. We set standards for the entire industry. We license pilots, we license airports, we certify aircraft. Anything that has to do with flying, it's got to get the stamp of approval from the authority before it is permitted to be on air, including personnel, as I've indicated, air traffic controllers, pilots, engineers, and so forth. And therefore, the responsibility is huge, in that if we are found wanting as a regulator in terms of ensuring the control, ensuring that the standards that we set are indeed, one, aligned to the international best practices. Number two, they have to preserve the safety and security of our passengers. If we don't do that, then it's a big issue. Let me just perhaps unpack once again what I mean. We also do get subjected to international auditing. There is an agency called International Civil Aviation Organization who audits us on a frequent basis. It's ICAO, yes, that's correct. And that agency really looks at the entire regulatory framework of the country. So the responsibility as an agency reporting to the Department of Transport, we carry the responsibility of the country, and therefore we've got to ensure that all standards, systems relating to aviation are indeed in safe hands. And therefore we do a lot of interaction with our international counterparts.
Yes.
International Civil Aviation Organization has declared that the Civil Aviation Authority, or South Africa for that matter, rates amongst the top in the world.
For the young girls from KZN, for a young girl in Richards Bay, anywhere around the country, if they want to be in the aviation industry, what are a couple of tips that you would suggest she start out thinking about and looking for?
I would say they need to be proficient in mathematics and science, particularly if you want to be in a technical field. If you want to be a pilot, if you want to be an air traffic controller, or if you want to be an engineer for that matter, aeronautical engineer for that matter. And therefore they need to take up these subjects, and they need to be at a particular grade. I think in my time it was C, grade C. Sure. I think now it's level 6. Level 6. And therefore that is a requirement. But then aviation is not about pilots, air traffic controllers and engineers. There are people who are business owners. There are people who are aviation medicine officers. I'm talking about the doctors who are qualified.
Oh, wow.
We have a fully fledged unit in the Civil Aviation Authority, those who check the competency of the pilots, who do the health check, and we have aviation lawyers, you know, people who interrogate and deal with the issues of regulation and law, and so aviation piloting is but a component, small in the bigger scheme of things.
Important, but it's
very important, but it does not end there.
Sure.
But equally, if you're doing business studies, the door is not closed because you still have an opportunity. We want aviation economists. We want lawyers. We want, as I indicated, doctors.
You guys offer bursaries?
We do offer bursaries.
Where can they go to find out more about your bursaries? Your website?
We do have a website. Our website is www.caa.co.za. And transformation, by the way, is our biggest issue. And therefore, we encourage every young girl, every young boy who has aspirations in getting a career in aviation to do so and do so quickly, because we need them. We offer bursaries. I think at this point in time we have an intake of about 33, spread between pilots, aeronautical engineers, as well as aircraft technicians. We also do visit schools. We go to rural areas. We've partnered with other agencies, the Air Force, South African Airways, and many others. We go to rural areas and we start talking about aviation. And we say, potentially we need to get in the basic education something that will orientate and get people to understand that, by the way, it's not only about becoming a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant. Aviation equally.
So you can make good money doing this as well?
Absolutely. Yes.
People doing really well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
They earn a very good living, and we want to encourage everyone.
Do you have a final message to that young professional now who wants to be a director or CEO?
You know, I like the words of our former president, Nelson Mandela, when he says it always seems impossible until it's done. Because I can tell you, aviation looks like something extremely impossible from the distance, and the reason for that is because of the structural issues. One, it's white male dominated, so you're already intimidated before you even step in. Two, access. Three, funds. And then you think, whoa, okay, this is not for me. I'm never going to be, trained to become a pilot because I will not even afford it. Number two, who's going to train me? You get intimidated. White males only, so where's my space, especially for the young girls. And therefore, I would say, pursue your dream. The doors have opened up. There is a Civil Aviation Authority. There are other institutions. There is a Department of Transport who is our shareholder. So information is there. And I've always told myself that there is absolutely nothing that I cannot do if I want to do it. And I think pushing and pushing, I'm not going to lie to you and say it was easy. It wasn't. Okay. At some point, I was kicked out of the boardroom because I was told it's not for secretaries. And I said, but I'm not a secretary, I'm a manager. So that culture thing, and I kept pushing. I wouldn't let anything to stand on my way because I knew what I wanted to be. Thank you very much for coming to my C-suite. Sbu, Ndate, keep kicking doors.